Jeff, always a pleasure to chat. It's been a while since we last chatted. We were just talking about that because both of us, frankly, have had a substantial amount of change in both of our lives from a professional and personal perspective. And so I think what better timely topic than how do you maintain the focus and intensity in your business and your career world when there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts, change, moving, things going on with your personal life. How do you keep and maintain your intensity and focus in career?
Yeah, great question. You and I have been doing these for several months now. As you can see, I have a different background. I moved on Friday. I'm getting a new job, starts in 2 weeks. I got engaged a few weeks ago. There's all sorts of crazy things that are going on over here. It's been pretty hectic. I'm somebody who is a big believer of like living in your calendar. I like, I really try my best to, be present in everything that I'm doing as well, but I'll break those down in maybe two different conversation points here. So like with regards to my calendar, it's not just like the event itself that I'll put down. It'll also be like anything that if there's an event coming up and there's something that I need to do in preparation for that event, that also goes on my calendar. My fiance makes fun of me because we do HelloFresh every week when we cook meals, and like I'll even put like that I'm cooking HelloFresh on my calendar because there's a certain number of meals every week, and I want to make sure we cook them all and plan ahead because if we're going out for dinner or whatever. So I live and die by my calendar. Now, of course, you need to have some flexibility because things change, right? So you need to be, adaptable in case of these, changing circumstances. But what I found is that if you're very organized, if you live in your calendar, if you're down to the minutiae of, everything that you're doing, is that it makes it a lot easier to adjust because you're not like always trying to come up for air, right? So you're organized, you're preparing. But the other thing too is to just try to be present in everything that you do. And like people who know me will think it's ironic that I'm saying this because I'm probably one of the most distractible people, and I'm often daydreaming about something else. But I try my best to just try to be as present as I can in whatever I'm doing, and just to throw myself into whatever I'm doing. So when I'm working, I'm working. I'm really serious at work. But like outside of work, I'm actually really not that serious at all. A lot of my friends would say that I'm kind of more, maybe like the funny guy sometimes. Or maybe that's just me patting myself on the back, like trying to think that I'm funny. But, I just I try my best to throw myself into whatever I'm doing. And so, when I'm working, but like I've been starting to work on doing some consulting on the side. So like I block out time on my calendar, like outside of my work hours that I can dedicate towards like building that business. Carson, you've written several books. You can't just do that, right? You have to block out the time. You're not going to do it in the middle of your workday because the reason that you've been able to write these books is because you've had a good career, right? So you clearly need to be focused at work. So I try to be intentional about when I'm doing a certain task. I'm committed to that 100%. And I also try to make sure that I am organizing my schedule in a way where I'm very intentional about everything to the point where people make fun of me, but at least that way there's no surprises. I'd rather overplan than underplan. So that's my thesis. How about yourself?
That's brilliant stuff, Jeff. I like that mantra of plan, but leave room for flexibility. I think that's key. I'm a big fan of the Rocky movie series. There was the Creed film that came out a few years ago with Michael B. Jordan, and there's a scene in it where they're training, and Stallone says, focus on one step at a time, one punch at a time, one round at a time. I find myself slowing things down as often as I can. I'll focus on a call at a time, day at a time, controlling what I can control. But when I get up in the morning, I'll make my list of non-negotiables for that day. And it's just like you said, some of those have a personal element to them. I may need to register my kid for school. I may need to call the electric company. I may need to plan for a presentation that I've got to give next week. So being very mindful of these things that are in the immediate, but also upcoming that I need to start planning for. I have to carve out dedicated time to take training curriculum. I've got to carve out dedicated time with my team. And talking about change, likewise, we just moved. We're planning some birthdays for our kids. I just started a new role, new team, learning all of those elements. But you've got to have the foundation in place. And something that I've found that's really helped me, especially when I'm managing a book of business, or even just my personal life, is going through kind of those non-negotiables or some of those priority points. Or if you're managing accounts, like just going through each of those accounts every day and asking yourself, what action do I need to take? So kind of have your foundation set. I built out a grid with my team, and basically we've got that as kind of a Bible to go back to say, is there action that I need to take here today? And if not, move on. Commit and execute to a course of action, but really try to stay focused on the moment and on the call you're on. It's challenging too. I've been on more and more conversations lately too that, I don't know how in the world we had time to commute before, because so much of the world now is these back-to-back calls. Sometimes they run over. I find myself late in the day now trying to play catch up from some of these things. And, I know what you're thinking. Obviously I get pulled into a lot of different directions, but could I manage my calendar better? Maybe. But the other element to that is that, if you deem something important, make sure you prioritize it. And that's why I loved how you said that you live in your schedule and that you schedule each of those things. Sometimes I may schedule a lunch date with my wife just to make sure that I'm, investing in all the relationships that matter, both personally and professionally. So I think be true to your priorities. Make sure that you schedule intentionally, come up with your non-negotiables and go through those every day. Be true to your foundation and your fundamentals. Think about all those priorities and where you need to be investing from a relationship perspective on a regular basis, and slow it down. It's hard. We had a lot of challenges with the move and just some of the other things that can happen with changing roles and moving to a new house. And so, it's best to just kind of slow it down, focus on the moment. I told my wife basically, we just got to get to August, right? Because a lot of that moving process was in July. So I had that as kind of a goal in my brain. And as things went awry or amiss, I allowed for the flexibility to be able to react, respond, and address. And I think that's the key element, is we have to be prepared from a process standpoint. But when things go awry or amiss, and if they have to be addressed right then and there, we address them, we execute, we move on. Sometimes, we may be bouncing around from a priority standpoint all day long. But I think as long as you've got your core priorities in order and you proceed accordingly, you'll turn out okay. Some days are better than others, but again, it's a call at a time, a meeting at a time, a day at a time, and you'll get through it all.
I like it. I was just Googling that Mike Tyson quote, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth."
I love that quote.
Reminds me about.